joining me for today's webinar, Net Promoter Score 101. My name is Emily Carl, and in this 30-minute webinar, we'll be discussing the basics of the Net Promoter Score, as well as how to effectively gauge customer sentiment with the Net Promoter Score, or NPS for short. It's a great customer experience tool that helps businesses get a better grasp on how its customers perceive a company, service, or a product. Now, a little bit of background on myself. I work directly with some of our current clients to ensure that they know how to survey, calculate, and analyze customer loyalty effectively and efficiently to help them provide the best experience for their customers. Now, the goal of this webinar is to ensure that you have a better understanding of how to measure customer sentiment with NPS, to put you in a position to effectively manage those customers that you have, their sentiment, to build a business that people love. I will also be recording this webinar and will share with all of those who have registered, so feel free to reference back to this video at any time. Now, the content today can be broken into 3 separate categories. Now, the first explains what the Net Promoter Score is and how it works. Then we'll take a look at how to collect and analyze data found from surveying your customers with the Net Promoter Score. Third, we'll talk about best practices on how and when to use Net Promoter Score. Now, this simple survey can show you a few simple things and insights to help you learn from customer feedback and increase your overall number of online reviews as well. Now, measuring your customers' happiness will give you a better understanding of how to maintain loyalty while also holding your customer service accountable. I will cover the benefits of using NPS to gauge customer sentiment and why it's important to collect and analyze that information in the first place. Now, I'm really excited to share this subject with you today because the team here at ReviewTrackers thinks that this specific tool is a fantastic way to understand the impact that customer satisfaction has on a business's reputation, revenue, and overall growth. We use it here as well. Now, as with the previous webinars that I've hosted, we'll always take 5 to 10 minutes at the end of our discussion today and open it up for some Q&A. So with that being said, there is a chat box attached to your webinar control panel on the screen. So if you have any questions while I go through the content of this presentation today, feel free to post them there and I will address as many as time allows at the end. So let's get into it. Let's first start by defining what Net Promoter Score, or NPS, is and how it works. Now, the basic definition is that it's a survey tool that helps determine customer satisfaction and loyalty towards a specific brand. It was created by Frederick Reichelt and was first published in the Harvard Business Review in 2003 in his article, "The One Number You Need to Grow." Now, the NPS is one of the simplest surveys to determine customer satisfaction, since it is only one question. That's it, one question. Would you recommend this business to a friend, family member, or colleague? Now, it has an 11-point 0 through 10 scale. The customer, after being asked the question, then selects a number dependent on their likeliness to recommend, with 0 being very unlikely to 10 being very likely. Now, it's important to ask a qualifying follow-up question to that survey, like, what is the reason for your score? Now, this question will shed light on why that person chose the number that they did. Now, there are multiple reasons to calculate NPS from your customer base, including the chance to build customer loyalty, improve customer satisfaction, reduce churn, and drive revenue growth. Now, the Net Promoter Score is an index, and it ranges from -100 to +100. That measures the willingness of customers to recommend a company's products or services to others. Now, there are 3 categories of customers within the NPS rating system: promoters, passives, and detractors. Now, anyone that selects 0 through 6 on the scale are considered detractors and can be detrimental to your brand. Now, anyone that selects 7 or 8 are considered passive to your brand and feel neutral about your company. Now, these customers could be swayed in either direction, so it's important to not let them sway towards the detractor side. Now, those that select 9 or 10 are promoters. Now, those are the people that are loyal to your brand and will recommend your business, if they have the chance to do so, to their friends, family members, or colleagues. So, of course, you want as many promoters as possible. But how do you calculate your NPS? You want to first have a large number of respondents to ensure that the results are as accurate as possible. Now, you don't want a small sample of NPS respondents, so it's important to ask each customer for their feedback. Now, keep in mind, your NPS is not the average of the numbers in your responses. So how do you calculate your NPS? Now, the score is the percentage of promoters subtracted by the percentage of detractors. Now, that number is then considered your Net Promoter Score. So now that you have your Net Promoter Score, it's time to digest the feedback you received to make improvements. Now, Checkmarket reported that according to NPS co-creator and management consultant Fred Reichelt, the average American company scores less than +10 on the NPS, while the highest performing organizations are situated between around +50 and +80. Now, keep in mind, this does vary slightly across industries and regions. Now, any number above 0 means that you have more promoters than detractors. Now, most companies seek to have a number above +50, of course, which is considered a high score. Now, the lowest score a company can receive is -100, and that means every person that filled out the survey were all detractors. And the highest number a company can reach is +100, and that means every person that filled out the survey was promoters. Now, one thing to note about Net Promoter Score is the answer is based on attitude of the customer and not really specific behavior. So, for example, a loyal customer may have the best of intentions to recommend a business, but are really never in a position to do so. You know, a customer might not have the opportunity to recommend or refer a particular location despite their happiness or loyalty with that company itself. Now, the first step in implementing your NPS strategy is to ensure that you have a plan set in place on how, when, how often, and to whom you will reach out to for your results. Now, it's important to outline these metrics before surveying your customers to help you organize the information that you do receive from the surveys. So let's focus on how to survey your customer base. Common methods of communication, of course, include emails, point-of-sale transactions, interactions between the product and the customer, or really any other touch points that happen within that customer life cycle. Now, one way to determine this is by answering this question for yourself. What part of my business is being considered in an NPS survey? Now, this will help you pinpoint when and how often to send the survey. So really, at what touch point are you going to survey your customers? The customer life cycle is going to vary for each industry. So think about this example. Someone goes to a furniture store to buy a couch. They had an absolutely horrible experience at the retail location, but still somehow managed to find the couch that they were looking for without the help of the really rude sales representative. Now, the couch, let's say, takes 3 weeks to be delivered to that person's address. Now, the delivery for that business is going to be considered the final touch point. So the store waits to send the NPS survey until after the delivery. Now, by missing the opportunity to send the NPS survey after the customer initially visits the store is losing out on the chance to improve that situation during that entire 3-week period before the delivery actually happened. Now, this is why it's important to segment the correct transactions between the business and a customer. Now, the NPS survey would have been helpful during both transactions to get an idea on the customer sentiment based on the retail location and the customer sentiment based on the delivery process. Now, it's important to sit down and determine when the best scenarios are to reach out to your customers. Now, each industry and company varies on the frequency and type of interaction, since each company's touch points are different. But one thing to maintain is consistency. Consistency is one of the most important factors in analyzing customer satisfaction, according to an article from consulting firm McKinsey and Company. Now, the article breaks consistency down into 3 factors: customer journey consistency, emotional consistency, and communication consistency. Now, the third topic, communication consistency, is crucial to note when determining when and how often to reach out to customers with the NPS survey. Now, McKinsey and Company iterates that it's important to remain consistent with your message and your presentation, which includes asking for feedback. Now, consistency is important since it creates a uniform common denominator when requesting this feedback. Now, if a company asks for an NPS for each customer after specific transactions, there's going to be a larger margin of results, which will make it easier to understand how that unique situation affects the overall NPS score compared to other situations used as other NPS touchpoints. Think about the example with the 2 NPS score opportunities, the retail location, and the couch delivery. So let's focus on who to send your NPS survey to get the most accurate feedback. Each and every one of your customers. Each customer has a unique experience with your brand or with your location, so it's important that you understand each scenario that a customer experiences. It will not help your business if you solely focus on surveying a niche group of people, like those that interact with only a small portion of your business. So for example, don't neglect the customers who frequent your auto body shop for oil changes when you only survey the customers who visit your store to rotate their tires. Now, the same goes for even seasonality. You might not know a specific problem or issue exists in certain weather or certain conditions if you choose to only send the survey, let's say, annually, and it happens to fall in July. Now, by asking each and every customer, you have the opportunity to gather insight based on the customer's current use cases, as well as where they are in the customer life cycle. So for example, if you are a healthcare company and have several hospitals, it would be important to understand the patients that are admitted to each department within each hospital, not just one hospital and one department. That's why it's also really important to ask qualifying information as well with the NPS survey to learn more about the customer and his or her unique experience or background before they're asked that survey. Now, NPS is just one example of a customer experience survey. So it's important to use it alongside another option. Now, why? Now, the major advantage of NPS can also be a disadvantage. It's simplicity. Now, the nature of NPS is based on one question only. So additional surveys or questions might be needed to delve and dive deeper into the results to determine if any changes need to be made to better that customer experience. Now, we do recommend that if you want to send out an NPS survey, to have the option for the customer to leave additional feedback based on the number that he or she chooses. Now, this will help give the customer a chance to expand on the selection while also shedding additional light on the reason behind why that number was selected. Now, at ReviewTrackers, we use NPS and segment out the surveys based on specific touch points during the customer lifecycle that we think are most important. So for example, we sent it out 30 days after you join us and 6 months subsequently after that. Now, this gives us a good idea of what people feel immediately after signing up and how they feel after using us for quite some time. So for example, it helps us determine, is the sign-up and onboarding process easy? What about our overall ease of use, functionality, or stickiness after you've been using it for quite some time? Promoters are such an important aspect of your brand since they help create additional customers for your business through their recommendations. Now, according to NPS co-creator Reichelt, the only path to profitable growth may lie in a company's ability to get its loyal customers to become, in effect, its marketing department. Now, his Harvard Business Review article further explains one specific and actually very unique situation for NPS used by Enterprise Rent-A-Car car rental service. Now, the company began to solely focus on tracking feedback from just their most loyal customer base, those that they consider promoters from their survey. Now, by only focusing on the promoters, Enterprise was able to learn what made their most loyal and happy customers happy, to glean insights from those customers, and continue to provide the service that exceeded their expectations. Now, I mention Enterprise since it has a unique business model that actually helps with this scenario in terms of customer loyalty. For them, customer loyalty is not defined by repeat purchases or repeat visits. Now, this is because car rentals are usually, few and far between, and sometimes based on very specific needs of that person. So the article then goes on to make this really important statement about that. Customer loyalty is about much more than those repeat purchases. Particularly true because, like the Enterprise Rent-A-Car situation, some businesses do not require a repeat purchase. Another example would be removing your wisdom teeth from a dental surgeon. Hopefully it's only done once. And although many would still be likely to recommend that dentist to a friend if they had a good experience, they, in fact, would actually not be a repeat customer for that location. A one-time purchaser of life insurance, let's say, between an insurance agent and a customer would also be a good example of those that would not have a repeat visit or need to repeat a purchase again, but would be happy to recommend that location to a friend or colleague for their one-time purchase. Now, the article also states the following. Loyal customers talk up a company to their friends, family, and colleagues. In fact, such a recommendation is one of the best indicators of loyalty because of the customer's sacrifice, if you will, in making the recommendation. Now, when customers act as references, they do more than indicate that they've received good economic value from a company. They put their own reputations on the line and will risk their reputations only if they feel intense loyalty. That's why it's so important to foster the relationships that you have with your loyal customers, whether it's a patient that would recommend your family practice or a visitor that would recommend your hotel or spa. It's important to make sure that those that share their experiences are happy. And the same thought process can also be tied to online reviews. So any customer has the opportunity to leave an online review, so it's important to foster those relationships with each and every customer, to learn what makes the promoters promoters, and to continue to do so. So why else should businesses utilize NPS as part of their customer satisfaction strategy? Now, it's easy to collect, calculate, and learn from based on the results. Some of the biggest benefits of using the Net Promoter Score is how quick it is to ask for feedback. Since there's only one question, the barrier to entry for a customer is really little to none. Now, we've all been there before when you begin to fill out a survey, but then you realize 20 questions in that the survey is way too long for your time and you don't want to finish it. So you exit and you leave all of the rest of the questions unanswered. That doesn't help the business at all, or even yourself. Other benefits of using NPS include adaptability, ease of use, timeliness, and of course, simplicity. These factors help tremendously in regards to creating a seamless survey that the majority of your customers have the opportunity to fill out. Now, why should businesses use NPS? Now, according to consulting firm Bain & Company, Net Promoter Score leaders on average grew at more than twice the rate of competitors. So those businesses that have the higher NPS scores compared to others in their industry are more than twice the rate of growing as they are their competitors. That's an incredibly large margin between those who are measuring and listening to their customer feedback compared to those that are not. Also, customer loyalty drives profitability and growth. There's a very strong positive correlation between increased loyalty and increased revenue data, according to Walker information from Indianapolis, Indiana. Now, according to VP of Customer Success, Jim Jones, loyal customers constitute an unofficial sales force, and disloyal customers will abandon your products, exclude you from future buying decisions, and sabotage your efforts. Companies who execute well on loyalty programs are 2.6 times more profitable than those who do not. So that's why NPS is such an important way to make sure that you're gauging that customer experience. It's such an easy way to determine that sentiment. So how can a business tie their NPS with their online reviews? Now, maintaining a proactive strategy to ask for feedback is also a great way to increase your online overall presence and increase the total number of your reviews. Now, reviews have such a strong impact on local search results and revenue. So it's critical to maintain a consistent strategy for encouraging reviews as well. Now, one way to do this is after you ask for feedback with the NPS survey, you can then direct those customers that left a higher score to your review site. Now, this will help you not only gather important feedback from customers with the NPS survey, but it'll also help you drive your happiest patrons, your promoters, to leave an online review on one of your review profiles. Now, the feedback you receive during the NPS survey is really important, but can also act as a filter to help you determine which customer base you wanted to leverage and target to leave a review online. So those that choose a high number can be automatically asked to leave a review. Those that choose a low number are then still asked to expand on their selection with your follow-up question, and that will help you learn more about maybe what possibly went awry in that situation. Now, one unique feature that ReviewTrackers has is an intelligent feedback tool that you can use within our platform. Helps minimize the risk of negative reviews to your business, and it's actually based on the Net Promoter Score. It's a landing page you can send to a customer that asks that one question: how likely is it that you would recommend the business? Now, dependent on the score, the customer is either asked to leave internal feedback or is encouraged to leave an online review. So for example, if a customer selects any number 0 through 6, then he or she is asked to leave internal feedback. The business can then follow up with that customer accordingly to address any concerns or really answer any questions to help alleviate their issue. If a customer selects any number 7 through 10, then he or she is encouraged to leave a review on a review site. With the feedback response, the business can work with that customer to resolve their issue, but it does not result in a negative review winding up online. The intelligent feedback tool functions like a filtering mechanism almost to help you evaluate the sentiment of that experience. Helps you increase reviews while also capturing feedback when necessary. So with this tool, you're effectively managing customer feedback. So once again, I would like to offer anyone interested in ReviewTrackers the chance to learn more about our product and service. With ReviewTrackers, you can aggregate all of your online reviews in one easy-to-use dashboard, along with the opportunity to increase your reviews and calculate your NPS. If you're interested in learning more, I'm going to send over an opportunity to request a demo to anyone who's attended the webinar today. Also, don't forget to mark your calendars for the next webinar that we're hosting. We're hosting it on Thursday, November 19th at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, a little bit different than today's time. We've partnered with social media company Sprout Social to discuss how customer engagement is impacted by reviews and social media management. It's going to be a really packed house, so don't forget to register early to save your spot. And again, that registration will come your way in the follow-up email. As always, please reach out to support@ReviewTrackers.com if you are a current customer. And if you have any questions for us at all, feel free to reach out to sales@ReviewTrackers.com if you're interested in learning more about getting started. Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to go ahead and start answering some of the questions that came in my way. So again, if you have any questions at all about NPS, feel free to place those in the chat box and I'll get to them. Okay, first question is, can you send the studies that you cited? Absolutely, I keep everything on file in terms of all of the facts and studies I use with all of my webinars, so I'll be sure to send those your way as well. Okay, let's see here. All right. Oh, here we go. I missed the first few slides. Can we watch? Of course, I did record this webinar, so you will be able to rewatch it at your earliest convenience. Here's a question here. What do you recommend is the best platform and medium to send the NPS survey to your customers? Great question. We send it via email. That we think that has the best rate of open and response. It's honestly going to vary dependent on the industry as well, but we use email here and we find that to be very effective and efficient. Plus a great way to keep track of all of the responses as well. Here's another question. Do you use SMS for reviews? In terms of using like a text or SMS campaign to ask for reviews, it gets a little tricky because sometimes review sites aren't as mobile friendly, so it's difficult for someone to leave a review on their mobile phone. So we do stick with email since they're usually on, let's say, an iPad or a laptop or a desktop. It's easier for them to leave a review on a desktop. Okay, here we go. We have a retail furniture store. How do you ask questions or give a survey on the day of the sale and the day of the delivery? It seems like a lot to hit the customer with, but both are very important. Great question. I think the best way to offer the NPS survey to the customer while they're in the retail location is to print it out on their receipt. So if someone goes in and buys the couch at the retail location, if they receive a receipt, during the time of the transaction, or maybe like a slip that the delivery is coming, you can actually print out, let's say, the NPS survey and say, go to this, page here that we've set up for you and go ahead and fill out the NPS survey. You can kind of set it up, a separate landing page on your website, and then they can go in there and they can fill out the NPS survey. Again, with delivery, maybe just hitting them up again with an email after the delivery was made, make sure everything was okay, everything was delivered okay, and then asking again for the NPS score. So that way you're kind of using two different mediums so they don't feel like maybe they're being emailed too often. You can do it that way as well. All right, it looks like that's all of the questions that I see here. So I want to thank everyone for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure. I look forward to seeing you all again on 2 Thursdays from now with social customer engagement through social media and review management. Thank you all so much again. Hope you learned something about NPS and have a great rest of your day.